So, we've reached the halfway point, not only of the toy line from Hyakujuu Sentai GaoRanger, but of my reviews of them. But before I go on, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's provided their constructive criticism and support during this time. I really do appreciate the feedback. And I have been using that feedback. If I've been saying it wrong, you guys have corrected me on it. Thank you. By the way, how the hell do you say Hyakujuu? I know I'm saying it wrong, and I'm surprised nobody's caught me at it yet, but how do you say that word? Seriously, because I've heard them say it a couple ways. Is the H silent? Do you say Hyakujuu? I mean, how the hell do you say that word? I don't know. But otherwise, everything's been going wonderfully here. I've been cramming these videos out at a furious rate, which is really fun for me, because I don't get to do this very often. Usually it's a week, week and a half, 2 weeks between video reviews, and there's this start and stop process. I have to kind of get the gears turning again. But when I've been doing these reviews, it's just literally one day after the other, which has been really invigorating for me. I really like that. And so I hope that the energy that I put into the next few reviews will be just as strong as it was when I started. Once again, thank you for all of your support. So, on with the review. So, the GaoRanger have been having it pretty good up to this point. They've had a couple of rough patches, but nothing they can't handle. They've gained some new friends, and they've kept some old ones, and they've destroyed quite a few orgs at this point, too. So they've got a bit of experience. They've pretty much worked out all the kinks. They know what they're doing. They're at the top of their game. Or so they thought. I'm not going to get into the super details of it right now, but there's an 8-episode arc that takes place right in the middle of the series, which has to do with the Duke Org Roki. Now, this is personal preference on my part, but it seems to me that the name Roki is an attempt by the Japanese writers to inspire the name Loki, you know, the Norse god of mischief or whatever it is. And so, forgive me if I default to Loki. I know that's the name that they used in Power Rangers Wild Force, but hey, Power Rangers Wild Force was actually pretty close in converting over from GaoRanger into the American series. So there's a lot of similarities between them, which really hasn't happened before or since in any other Power Ranger season. So if I say Loki, am I really going to be burned at the stake for that? I hope not. Anyways, Loki was recruited by the Orgs to destroy the GaoRanger because he is this big, tough Org warrior who the GaoRanger just can't quite seem to get an upper hand on. It gets to be bad enough where he actually steals a couple of the Gao jewels associated with the power animals, and then he reveals to the GaoRanger's horror that he has his own set of power animals, which are referred to as Majuu, which means dark beasts. Loki has this werewolf theme going, so best I start with Gao Wolf. I don't remember exactly if it's a silver wolf or a gray wolf, because it is based on an actual animal, just like all of the power animals are based off of real animals, save for the soul bird, of course, which sucks. But anyways, I'm getting off point. The tail is made of PVC, and due to how it transforms, you can see that the paint has started to, the paint has started to wear away there, so it takes a little bit of effort to get it in there. Head can go up and down, can turn side to side, and the mouth can open a decent bit, if I can get it in there. Yeah. See, the head can open up a decent bit. However, if you tilt the head down, the mouth is going to close up. So anyways, posability is still pretty nice. You've got die-cast metal in all 4 paws, and in the, what is this? Actually, that's the ankle joint right there. No, it's not the knee joint. That's the ankle joint. I don't know. The ankle joint and the elbow joint here, and in these panels, these 2 panels down here. Those are all die-cast metal. Now, if you've seen my previous review for the Gao King, then you know I also had a posing problem with the shoulders. And that was in relation to Gao Tiger. Roar. Gao Tiger also had a problem with the Flemish shoulder joints. Now, the interesting thing about Gao Tiger and Gao Wolf, yeah, they both share those. It's these elbow joints here that are kind of loose, because I got my Gao Hunter Evil secondhand. But anyways, yeah, it's kind of difficult to pose. I mean, either one, because of the loose shoulder joints primarily, but also because of these elbow joints, and that applies to both of them. Anyways, all of the stripes, just about all the stripes that you see on Gao Tiger have not just painted on, but they've been molded into place and then painted over. These stripes here, here, all this up here, well, I guess the head doesn't really count, but all these 3 stripes up here, stripes along here, all the stripes around here, they've all been molded into place and then they were painted over. However, with Gao Wolf, clearly those molded stripes are missing. So even though they look and function and transform more or less the same way, Gao Wolf is actually not a repaint in the strictest sense, but rather a remold. So I really appreciate what Bandai did for us there. Next up is Gao Hammerhead. PVC tail, fins can tilt in and out like that, mid-body can turn, awesomeness, and then the hammerhead's, well, head is made of ABS plastic. It's interesting to note, though, with the exception of the head and this panel under here, Gao Hammerhead is more or less identical to Gao Shark. But the interesting thing is, much like Gao Wolf to Gao Tiger, Gao Hammerhead's head is actually a remold. Everything else, well, except for this panel under here, I mean, if the decal wasn't here, you'd actually see the pattern is different compared to the one on Gao Shark. But anyways, the mold design, and I don't know why I'm bringing it closer to the camera, you can't see it. The mold design for the head is actually slightly different compared to that on Gao Shark. So they are slightly different, but again, it's a remold rather than a straight-out repaint. While technically his name is Gao Alligator, in the series he is referred to as Gao-ligator. It's just because the letters and the pronunciation just kind of mix matches together really nicely. It's kind of a way of cheating their way through it. So generally speaking, I refer to him the same way. One thing I'm not going to call him, though, is Wimpy, because by far Gao-ligator is the largest power animal we've seen today. He's 15.5 inches long, and he actually weighs more than Gao Bison does. And Gao Bison actually has die-cast metal in it. Gao-ligator doesn't have any die-cast metal in it whatsoever. The only thing it does have is a little bit of the vacuum form plastic stuff there, the vacuum metallized, I'm sorry. But like I said, 15.5 inches, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's pretty big. Now, if you want to look at a real alligator, such as the American alligator, which this guy is supposed to be based off of, when American alligators are hatched out of their eggs, they're actually a little shorter. They're actually about 14 or 13 inches long, excuse me. So this guy actually tops out a little bit. But you have an idea, considering that American alligators actually grow up to be 12 or sometimes even 16 feet long. So this is actually an accurate representation of what a baby American alligator would be. But enough of those trivial matters. It's really the details of Gao-ligator that are really impressive. The scale pattern across the top is really, really nice. And the jagged edges, which continue when you turn it to the side, which is really nice. And very, very, very awesome, very powerful looking creature, especially when it gets to his mouth, but I'll get to that in a moment here. He even has patterned feet. He's got patterns on the bottom of his feet too. So, and that also counts for his little forelimbs right there too, or his front legs too. So there isn't really any area on Gao-ligator that doesn't have some kind of detail to it, whether it be scales or the recognizable kind of power animal lines or whatever it is. So it's a shame it doesn't have a little iris in there, but the way it reflects light, it's pretty cool that way. So, but of course the part that everybody wants to get to is the mouth, which is very awesome. By the way, alligators do squeak when they're little, even though alligators don't have vocal cords. Anyways, enough with the trivial matters, Eva. The teeth are all PVC, so they actually are soft, but the two halves of the jaw are ABS. So that's what that squeaky sound is you've got PVC running up against the ABS. And again, I apologize for not getting in focus. Let's see if I can focus this. I can't, because I have to focus ahead of time. The interior of the mouth is really nice. And the top and bottom are more or less the same. So very, very nice. And you don't have to worry let me rephrase it. You don't have to worry about it pinching you because there's no spring action in here, but I mean, you can squeeze down, and that's what the PVC is for. But you'll notice that both halves of the jaw move independently of each other. So, yeah, okay. But really, the top jaw controls how everything works, and it snaps together very tightly, very smooth, very awesome. The other thing I want to point out is the tail. And the tail has that posability in it that you've been seeing in the power animals all the way to this point, and that is articulation that isn't involved in the transformation. The tail is pretty static when it comes to the transformation, so Bandai and Plex gave us a little bit of flexibility there. The bottom section's on a little ball and socket joint, but this section here and here are on ratcheting joints. Listen to this. So you actually get a little bit of posability there. That's awesome. I love that. And of course you can twist that if you have to. Because of the way he transforms, even though the legs for transformation, they do shift in and out the way they're supposed to during the transformation, or in real life the legs shift in and out like this and they kind of shift down a little. While that happens during the transformation, you can't really do it with Galigator when it's not transforming. So unfortunately the only posabilities you get is this and a little bit of, well, you can actually pull it all the way out there again. And unfortunately, even though there are panel lines all over there, you cannot turn this limb here. So that is Galigator. Very awesome looking feature. Very, very awesome. There is, however, one little thing that I need to point out. If you watch the show, be it Power Rangers Wild Force or GaoRanger, Galigator is huge. I mean, freaking huge compared to Gao Hammerhead and Gao Wolf. So don't believe the scale that they show you in the series. Okay, that's just not accurate. Okay, that was played up for dramatic effect. They're not in scale with each other. Transformation for Gao Wolf, with the exception of the tail, of course, is identical to that of Gao Tiger. And you push the panels together. Of course, the kind of flimsy limbs here, or at least in the front. And the only thing that Gao Wolf doesn't do is the head doesn't go in or out, but you do still turn it to the side. So that's the left arm. And for Gao Hammerhead, fold up the landing gear, just the back landing gear. Strange it didn't snap in place. Oh well. Pull out the tail, pull that down, landing gear, and then here's my favorite part, pull that out and turn that to the side. That forms the right arm. Seems to be a recurring theme with Gao Hunter, pulling the tails off and setting them off to the side for them to be used at a later time. Transformation on Galigator is actually pretty simple, but there's one thing I want to bring up before I go on. See this line right here? That is, let's see, how do I do this? It's flexible. It's a string. It's a little cord. The arms are very capable of popping off. It's actually a pretty flimsy joint right here, so why it is they wouldn't allow for this piece to break off, you know, if you put too much pressure on it? Why would they put a cord on there? I don't get that. I really don't. I mean, why not design it to flip around as they have for, you know, so many dozens of years with the transforming mecha? Yeah, by the way, one other thing, notice the kind of semi-scale pattern along the bottom there as well. Anyways, just unclick the head. And it doesn't snap as solidly as I would like it to downwards, but it does still snap there, which is nice. But anyways, take Gao Wolf's tail, and you see there's some holes in there. See, no holes. And it's PVC, and it's not cooperating with me. Come on, get in there. There you go. I don't think you're required to put that there, but I put it there. And you take the arms, do that. And last but not least, will head up. And like any decent org, it has a horn that you have to flip out. And there you have Gao Hunter Evil. Posability is as follows, which is actually more or less the same as Gao King. You've got both ratchet every 45 degrees. Now on mine, I demonstrated with Gao King how the back right leg of Gao Tiger would eventually lose the strength in the joint itself, and then the shoulder joint would actually be stronger. Well, with Gao Hunter Evil, I can actually show you it's actually, it's already starting to do it. Now I've forced it a little, so I admit. But it is, well, there I didn't force it. See, this is what will happen to either Gao Tiger or Gao Wolf over time. Except when you turn upwards. See, it's going to want to shift like that. So that's eventually what's going to happen. As you can see, it happened with mine. But you still get those ratcheting elbows. Awesomeness. And the head can turn, side to side, and you can still open the mouth, of course. Over here, you've got even more wonderful elbow design because it ratchets to 45 degrees. And it clicks quite nicely, and you've also got an elbow that turns sideways. I really, really, really like the extendable elbow joints. That's something that's missing from Super Sentai. They've had a lot of opportunities to do that, and it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. So they finally did it correctly right there. Yahoo! And unfortunately, that's the only posability that you've got in it. The head can turn up and down, but again, that's just because of the transformation. One thing to comment about the transformation, though, when the head is put down, if you don't have it, let's see, how do I describe this? If you put the head down and you go to lift it back up, wow, okay, maybe if it's down. Yeah, if it's down. I'm sorry, if the snout is down, you can see the ears are bumping into the groove there, and what will eventually happen, it's out of focus, is the paint will start to wear away there. So be mindful that that's a little bit of a problem. The other thing, and this is a little unusual, unlike Gao Bison, which is used with Gao King and Gao Muscle, Gao Hunter Evil doesn't have legs that, they don't spring apart, they ratchet into position, so they're always held there. But the kind of weird thing, and it doesn't really work with Gao-Ligator, is that you can, and it's real subtle, but you can see the foot twist just that little bit. And I don't know why it does it, but, I mean, it's meant to allow to have an even footing, but it's so minor, I wonder if it was even worth it. So, yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Or, not a problem, but just, one of those little weird things. But anyways, weapons features. You can take out this is what's known as the crescent boomerang. You can open up the wolf's mouth, and you remember those two little holes in there? You can stick that in there. You can have them hold it like that, and I mean barely hold on. It all depends on how strong that jaw joint is. Jaw joint? Okay. So yeah, that's an option. I tend to keep it just because, it's kind of a boring. I just keep it on there, okay? No big deal. But here's the kind of weird action feature to this thing, and that is the ligator blade. Ligator? I don't know. Like I said, you have to deal with separating the tails on all three of the Majuu power animals, I guess. So what you do is you take the tail from Gao Hammerhead, you stick it into Gao Ligators, and then you twist that to the side, and you get the ligator blade. Ligator? I don't know. There's a couple different ways you can say it. Now, here's my problem. This is really my biggest complaint with the whole set. Even though it sits up here, two things. One, it makes it back heavy. I actually worry about it tipping over. And two, there's nothing really special about either side here, but there's a slot here. Like I said, the slot's the same on either side. And then, you see that kind of raised little ridge right there? So all that does, it just sits there, and barely sits there. I mean, you can still shift around, but it just prevents it from going side to side a little. So attaching the ligator blade to the back of Gao Hunter Evil, not really worth it. I really don't like it. It's actually one of the very few features on Gao Hunter that I don't like. The ligator blade in general isn't treated very well. You remember how I commented in the review for Gao King that when you use the fin blade, this is just a repaint of the fin blade, you would open up the mouth and you would pull out this thing and it would shift up and down, and what you'd do is you'd stick this in here like this and you'd close it up, and I said it sucked, and I said, I wish it would attach from the side. Well, you know what? Even though Gao Hunter doesn't do this, you can actually have it snap in from the side. Sort of. Okay, whatever. But it doesn't use this in the show. Instead, come on. Stick that there. And this handle is made of PVC, which another thing I didn't like. I wish it had been made of ABS, seriously, because over time the ligator blade will wear out. And this thing actually starts. There's actually a slight tilt to mine. While it's flexible, probably they did this for a safety reason, but I don't like the safety reasons. Anyways, you can do that. See, you can get the ligator blade to be held like that, which I don't really like. And the other thing is that, let's see, I'll turn it this way. If the handle had been made of ABS, despite its weight, what will happen over time is, like I said, it'll start to flex like this. So the ligator blade, nice weapon to have, just kind of poorly executed. I'm not a huge fan of it. So that is all the features of Gao Hunter Evil. Just as Gao King and Gao Muscle have their own attack, such as the Super Animal Heart and the Muscle Lariat, Gao Hunter has its own attack, or its own specialized finisher, which is known as the Beast Hurricane. God, that happened in a previous take too. I'm gonna have to investigate that. News! My toy's breaking. New. So officially, you just do this, okay? Well, here's the thing, and this is something that you don't see in the instructions, by the way. Push the head down, and you lift the alligator head up. Now, here's the thing, and it takes a little bit of tinkering, and it's all dependent on the lower jaw, and you actually have to close it quite a bit. See, so they're actually not going to be quite even. But what happens is, and you'll see it when you do it, as you adjust the lower jaw, it'll, I don't know, the cheek, I guess, will jut outwards just enough so it'll push against there in kind of weird fashion. Now, even though, you get the three heads, you get the Beast Hurricane, woohoo, but the head is at kind of an awkward angle. So it also looks like this during the transformation when the transformation finishes up. But there is my version of the Beast Hurricane. Throughout the course of this 8-arc episode, it seems that Loki is more than he seems to be. He's not a simple Duke Org. He's not the standard Super Sentai General. He seems to have some kind of code or something along those lines that doesn't quite make him a standard Org, even despite his powers. And so, as it turns out, in episode 7 of the 8-episode story arc, Loki is actually a human who was corrupted 1,000 years ago. This means that Loki used to be one of the 6 original Gao warriors from 1,000 years ago. In fact, Loki himself is just a demon who was trapped inside of a mask for, however long, and then one of the Gao warriors, in order to make that final push, in order to defeat the Org 1,000 years ago, Gao Silver, his real name is Shurgain, Gao Silver, Shurgain? I don't know, I've never seen it. Anyways, Gao Silver puts the mask on in order to increase his powers, in order to, drive that final stake through the coffin, so to speak. But unfortunately, he knew that making such a sacrifice would corrupt him eventually, and he would become more powerful than the other 5 GaoRanger. And so what happens is, he asked and begged them beforehand, put me away, destroy me before I become too powerful. Well, of course, the GaoRanger are not going to sacrifice their friend in such fashion. He did this without their knowing about it. So what they did instead is they entombed him. and, pray that he never shows up again. We're sorry, we don't want to kill you, but we know you're a risk, so we're just going to entomb you for the rest of your life, however long that is. And while he's in this tomb, by gum by golly, Loki does indeed take over until eventually he overtakes all of Gao Silver's original memories. Anyways, history lesson over. When Gao Silver becomes good again, he brings his 3 power animals along with him. Well, there's still the issue of this org horn on the top of Gao Hunter Evil that you have to deal with. Well, that's simple enough. The horn disappears, and the head changes to become Gao Hunter Justice, which is... He calls him Gao Hunter Justice, and really the only difference between Gao Hunter Evil and Gao Hunter Justice is the head. And he doesn't call it Gao Hunter Justice through the rest of the series. It's just, he calls it that once, and that's it. So, anyways, yeah, this is Gao Hunter Justice now. The DX Gao Hunter is probably going to go down in Super Sentai history as the most repainted and reissued, fully transformable figure that Bandai ever released. So, what do I mean by that? Well, when Gao Hunter first appeared, on the box, it was referred to as the DX Majuu Gattai Gao Hunter Evil, which this one is, by the way. And then, a couple weeks later, when the whole Loki Gao Silver arc ended, they released a new version, which was the DX Hyakujuu Gattai Gao Hunter Justice. And so what did I just say a moment ago? Simply that the only difference between Gao Hunter Evil and Gao Hunter Justice is the head changes. Well, here's the funny thing. Both releases were literally the exact same toy. This could easily have originally been Gao Hunter Justice when it was manufactured, but it actually turned out to be Gao Hunter Evil. But either way, the only difference between the DX Gao Hunter Evil and Gao Hunter Justice was the head and the packaging. So you had your pick depending on which way you liked it named. And really, I don't see a name written anywhere on here. So you can go get either one, okay? I just so happen to get a second-hand Gao Hunter Evil, okay? That's just how mine turned out. So there's that. Now, a couple of months later, if you watch the show, Gao God shows up. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, no, I am not reviewing Gao God. I like the Gao King design, I just don't like the repaint, which is Gao God. So don't ask, don't send hateful messages, I don't want to hear about it, okay? You can go aw and QQ all you want to. I'm not reviewing Gao God, okay? The only one I'm getting one is if somebody makes a donation. End of story. So Gao God denies the GaoRangers access to the other power animals, except for Gao Silver's. Well, being outgunned and outmanned in every respect, when going up against large org, the only way they can deal with, what was it, Clock Org, I think. The only way they could deal with him was for the GaoRanger to contribute all of their powers into Gao Hunter. And because Gao Hunter, thus Gao Silver, draws its power from the moon, Gao Hunter is upgraded temporarily into Gao Hunter Blue Moon. What's the difference between Gao Hunter and Gao Hunter Blue Moon? Simple. All of the green-colored parts are painted blue, which means the Gao Hunter Blue Moon repaint only affects Gao-Ligator. The other difference is the silver on Gao-Ligator's snout becomes gold, and that gold section there becomes black or blue. I can't remember which. But Gao Wolf's tail stays exactly the same. These decals up here are already blue. They stay blue. Oddly, Gao Hammerhead doesn't become blue, even though in the series it kind of does. So that's Gao Hunter Blue Moon. I'd like to get Gao Hunter Blue Moon because I think it's a nice repaint. Does anybody want to make a donation? So there's actually 3 versions of Gao Hunter you wait for. No. There's actually 4 versions. Most of the power animals, in addition to being released in individual box sets, which I've been reviewing up to this point, and in the larger sets, Gao King, Gao Hunter, even Gao Muscle, well, all of the power animals, including the ones in the combined sets, all of them at some time or other were reissued as smaller sets. Thus, Gao Hammerhead and Gao Wolf were released in a box together, and Gao-Ligator was released in an individual box. So that's 4 different versions of Gao Hunter you get. But wait, there's more! Bandai Asia, if I understand this correctly, releases all the stuff that Bandai Japan does. It's just called Bandai Asia. But this doesn't cover Bandai America, which is its own branch. Anyways, you know those two smaller boxes of Gao Hammerhead, Gao Wolf, and then Galligator that I just described to you? Well, Bandai Asia released those same 2-box sets, but the repaint is every single piece of plastic. I mean, every single piece was either painted, the color of the plastic was changed, or the material itself was changed to be silver. All the ABS, all the PVC, all the vacuum metallized, everything on this set was silver or a very, very light gray. So that brings us up to a grand total of 5 versions of Gao Hunter that you can pick up. Majority of them are the exact same toy, it's just how they were packaged, really, is the only difference. So Gao Hunter Blue Moon is the official repaint, and then the Gao Hunter Silver versions are also official repaints, even though they don't appear in the series. What is up with all these figures? I mean, I assume the silver version was in tribute to the fact that Hyakujuu Sentai GaoRanger is the 25th anniversary series of the Super Sentai franchise. But then why didn't they do that to any of the other sets? Well, no, that's not true. Gao King had the all-black version, which came out, which did not appear in the series or the movie. And then they had Gao God, which is the remold of it. And then there's the standard version, which was released in 2 different boxes, by the way. And then, Gao Muscle was released, in the individual sets the way that I acquired them, or in the DX Gao Muscle set, which I don't have, which is pretty much the same thing. It's very, very strange. The GaoRanger line is known for a couple of different things here. It's really strange, but Gao Hunter probably had the most repaints of any of them. It's just ridiculous. By the way, in case you're wondering, did Bandai America give us any of those reissues, Blue Moon, Silver version? No, we just got the Pretazord. By the way, you want to know the difference between the Gao Hunter and Pretazord? Simple. The decals were replaced with paint, and I think that one decal that runs along Gao Wolf's backside was not added at all. That's it. The Pretazord is the closest transfer over from the original Japanese version that Bandai America made. They even kept the die-cast metal in there, so bravo, Bandai America. Woo! Very awesome, very awesome. I have to tell you, of all the designs that are out there, the DX Gao Hunter is actually one of the highlights of my Super Sentai collection. I really, really, really like this design. It's got this kind of, kind of warrior monk design look to it. Like he's got the ninja thing going where his mouth is covered, but he's got this really slim looking figure, except when you turn it on its side, it doesn't look as slim as it is from the front. It's a very thin, very fit figure from the front. But the negative points really are, it's kind of irritating that the arms are just, repaints. But what they came up with is sufficiently different from Gao Tiger and Gao Shark that I'm not too worried about. I mean, it's annoying that they're remolds, but what they came up with isn't too bad. So that's not a problem. I also really wish that the ligator blade would have been treated differently. The PVC handle and how this puny little thing is attached here. Yeah, it's okay that it's just this little clip-on thing here. I don't really have a problem with that. The weight, that's not a big problem. It's just kind of eh. What I really wish they would have done, though, was find some way of sticking the ligator blade between the Galligator's legs back there. Either set it diagonally or straight vertically. Either way, that would have been nice. They just didn't treat the ligator blade with much respect. It just feels so last-minute throw together, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, and then there's the whole string cord issue back here with Galligator's front legs. What's going on back here? That's strange. I really don't get that. But whichever version you get, the DX Gao Hunter is totally worth it. Strongly, highly recommended. And so, this is AV Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com, signing off. 戦隊ガオレンジャー first line, panel line right here, and you just set it up there. Oh, I forgot a step. Turn this. Wow. Now you see right there, perfect example. Look what just happened. You see, rather than just pop off, I'm going to put this into the bloopers feature, but rather than pop off, look at that, the string held onto it. Why would they do that? Because it risks, pulling that apart. I don't get that. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the credits, because this blooper is now ended. Hyakujuu Sentai